next guest is an author who's just published his first novel, which is creating quite a stir. The playwright Alan Bennett says he's never read anything quite like it, and perhaps that's because the plot is told through the point of view of inanimate objects. They tell the story of Tom Barnes, a soldier who loses both his legs in Afghanistan. It's a story that's close to home for Harry Parker, who wrote the book Anatomy of a Soldier. He too served in Afghanistan, and he too was gravely injured, losing both his legs. Well, Harry Parker joins me now. Thanks so much for coming to talk to us on Showcase. We're going to talk more about the book in a moment, but first I just want to talk about some of those reviews, and I'll read some of them to you. I'm sure you've read them before, but Alan Bennett says, "It's both engrossing and distancing. I know of nothing quite like it." Hilary Mantel says it's a novel of concentrated ferocity and chilling accomplishments, tense and unflinching, but alive to every nuance of feeling. And General David Petraeus, who was in charge of the international security forces in Afghanistan, he too has praised it a great deal. When you listen to those reviews from those eminent people, how does it make you feel for your first novel?
God, it's pretty thrilling. I mean, it's such a solitary thing to do, to write a book, and then when it goes out there, you know, it gets owned by other people as they read it. But just to have some of those people I've looked up to since I was young saying nice things about the book is great, really amazing.
And had you done much writing before this?
A little bit, but never with a sort of an idea of writing a novel. I'd never put it out there, and then, you know, this sort of got a publisher, and then these quotes, which was great.
So talk to me about The Anatomy of a Soldier. What's it about? Tom Barnes is injured.
Yeah, so it's a book about a soldier, really, but it starts with him lying sort of face down in the dust, having been injured, and unless something sort of intervenes, he'll bleed and die. So a tourniquet is placed on him, and that tourniquet tells the story, essentially. It's the sort of point of view. And then the book unfolds through 45 different objects. You get the IED that is made by the insurgents, the mother's handbag that she holds when her son comes into hospital for the first time, and she sees him. There's a Persian rug that's sort of made and put together, and it tells the story of how some of the characters meet. So it's the objects are a way of telling, I suppose, the sort of 360-degree nature of warfare. But I wanted to sort of show the insurgent side as well as the soldier's side.
It's such an unusual way of writing. Where did you get the idea from?
I'm not sure. But it was sort of to try and take myself out of the story, I suppose. And when you're a soldier, you put this equipment on and you start to sort of smell of it, and it sweats. You sweat into it, and you're carrying all this stuff with you. So it's sort of, there's this idea of sort of ritual that gets sort of embedded into your kit. So it never felt like a sort of unusual thing to do. And then when you're in hospital and there's a catheter or a bag of blood or a bone saw that is keeping you alive or saving you, then there's something about sort of the body being, I don't know, there's some sort of mirroring of objects in the body, and it was a really interesting way to write, I think.
Now, your own story, as you mentioned there are great parallels with the story that you tell in this book. To what extent was writing that story cathartic for you?
Well, it was really just a creative thing, actually, and I think doing it from this sort of unusual aspect helped that. So it was never therapy in that sense. But when I printed it out for the last time, and it was sitting there on a table, there was definitely a sort of moment of, God, well, this thing is sitting there, and it's sort of got its own life now. But I think you probably get that with any book.
It's been called unflinching. We read some of those reviews, and realistic. Were there any moments when you thought, gosh, this is a bit too brutal and too realistic for readers?
Well, there's one of the chapters is told from the point of view of a bone saw, which cuts off Tom Barnes' second leg when he's in hospital. So it is, and the sort of the very close nature of telling it from the point of view of the saw, which does the surgical procedure, does make it very sort of brutal in a way. And because it's an object, it takes away some of the emotion, which actually because it's sort of so unflinching, I think it sort of almost heightens it. But there's lots of hope in the book as well, I hope, in terms of there's recovery, there's sort of the prosthetics tell some of the story. So although it's about conflict, it's also about hope and overcoming injury. Yeah.
Very briefly, if you would, what's next? This is your first novel. Are you going to carry on writing more?
Yeah, I'm going to continue to write, but I think sort of done soldiers and definitely objects doing the talking, I think I'll something different the next time.
Right, OK, well, we shall wait and see. For now, though, Harry Parker, thank you so much for coming on to talk about us. And Anatomy of a Soldier has just been published.